Bobby here, and continuing from the last video in which we started to introduce soloing over changes. In that last video we looked at working with the same scale type over two non-diatonic chords. So I think in that video we were working with B minor 7 for 2 bars, changing to C minor 7 for 2 bars. And that kind of forces you to play two of the same scale type but in completely different keys, you know, where the notes have nothing in common. It really kind of forces you to, kind of keeps you on your toes, and forces you to really think about the underlying chord. You have to excuse me, this backing track is blaring away in my ears. I'm going to leave the track running throughout this video, but I might be shouting a little bit because I can't actually hear my own voice. What we're going to do today, we're going to take it one step further. We're working with a backing track now that goes from A minor 7 to C minor 7. So you can use A minor pentatonic and C minor pentatonic respectively, or you can use A Dorian and C Dorian respectively. Bizarrely, or interestingly should I say, the scales, even though the scales are now a minor third apart, 3 frets apart, tone and a half, whichever way you want to look at it, the scales have more notes in common than they did when it was a shorter interval of a semitone. So this kind of keeps things quite interesting. That opening solo was a little bit all over the place. It was completely improvised, you know, kind of first take type thing. But what I was trying to do was land on a chord tone with each new change. So that's another kind of thing that you need to kind of look at almost as a kind of secondary exercise. But what you can do, you can start out just with minor pentatonics, you know, and I would keep this kind of positional. So, you know, maybe break the neck up into, if you think cage, then, you know, work with by all means work with kind of cage positions. But I kind of like to think of this as a kind of regional thing where maybe we split the neck up, you know, between frets 1 and 5, 5 and 9, 9 and 13, and try to keep the changes kind of fairly local, because what you want to avoid doing, really, it's fine to do this as long as it's not the only kind of tool in your toolbox, is to you know, start with A minor pentatonic and then just shift everything up 3 frets and back down. You know, that's going to be that will kind of give you a slightly disjointed It's okay, it works for the most part, but you know, it's a big jump to kind of leap up and down in minor thirds like that. So what I would suggest doing, I'm just going to noodle around. I'm going to be playing A minor pentatonic or A Dorian, and then move into C minor pentatonic in the same area. And looking for the notes that are close to each other, or the notes that the two scales have in common. You know, for example, this C note, you could hang on this C note for the whole progression if you like, because it's the minor third of A minor 7, and then it becomes the root of C minor 7. So, you know, bear that in mind. C minor 7. I mean, there I landed on a 4th when I changed chord, so it didn't, to my ears, sound very smooth. So you can kind of, let's look at that kind of, you know, positionally first of all, just dealing with minor pentatonic scales for the most part, and you know, breaking the neck up into sections. So next time the backing track comes around, I'll do just that. Keep it simple. This is A minor 7. C minor 7. And move up. C minor 7. A minor 7. On the 5th of the A minor 7 when it came back around. We'll look at that next. We're just working our way up the neck. So, starting again with A minor 7. C minor 7. Back to A minor 7. C minor 7. And then work your way back down. You know, that kind of thing. I was throwing in some extra notes from the Dorian scale. But the cool thing about minor pentatonic scales over minor 7 chords is you've only got 5 notes in the minor pentatonic scale. You've got 4 notes in the chord. You've got the root, the flat 7. So you've got the root, the flat 3, the 5th, and the flat 7. So you can't really go far wrong. You know, 4 out of 5 notes is a chord tone. So that would be the next step, to kind of try and land on a chord tone with the change. So right there, I started out playing A minor pentatonic, or A Dorian. When it came down to C minor 7, I landed on the 3rd. 3rds are great to land on. I landed on the 3rd of that chord. Oh, sorry, that's going to sound awful over the A minor. It's going to be a flat 5, but it's a flat 3. So let's try that again. You know, I'm targeting the 3rd of the. I was targeting the 3rd of the C minor 7, and then going back to the A minor 7, you could kind of land on the 5th there. You could land on that E natural. Let's try that. So something like this. See there, I'm landing on the 7th of the C minor 7. Back to the A minor 7. And then bending the 6th up to the flat 7. That can sound really nice as well. Let's try that. And there, landing on the 5th of the A minor 7. So targeting chord tones all the while. I'll just play through a little bit, and hopefully you can kind of hear. I'll try and kind of talk you through it. Flat 7, 5th. 3 of A minor 7. That's a flat 3. And the root. So there I landed on the 5th of the A minor 7. So I'm not just kind of arbitrarily kind of running up and down the fretboard, you know, I'm kind of thinking about chord tones, I'm thinking about where I am on the fretboard at all times. It's a great way to get into changes playing, because you don't have to think about different scale types. You know, you're playing with non-diatonic chords. These two chords have nothing to do with each other. You know, A minor 7, they don't belong in the same key. 2 bars of A minor 7, 2 bars of C minor 7, you know, they're quite far apart. But this does happen, especially in instrumental music, this set of changes. But, you know, so if you encounter this chord sequence, you would have to choose a different scale. You would have to change key every time. Something like that. So how you can kind of get into this is to just work through it slowly, you know, put together a backing track, maybe with iReal Pro like I use. You know, this is not the best sounding backing track, the sounds are a little bit kind of hammy. But you could spend 4 bars on each chord or 8 bars on each chord if you like, to really kind of work your way into it and just start playing very, very slowly and deliberately, you know, maybe with chord tones. So not thinking about phrasing as such, you know, you might want to spend kind of I'm just playing 2 notes per bar. But I'm really kind of playing into the changes even like that. And then just increase the subdivisions. That at that tempo, then, you know, obviously you can think about phrasing, you can think about spaces, you know, maybe try 8th notes. What was I doing then? 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I was doing quarter notes, wasn't I? So yeah, maybe think about 8th notes. So let's try that. It's going to sound a bit busy, but starting on A minor. know, if you can do it at that subdivision, then there's no reason why you can't, you know, phrase in a more musical way and add spaces, you know, repetition. I mentioned in the previous video that when it comes to phrasing, every new note that you play, or every note that you play at a certain subdivision, doesn't have to be a new note. So, you know, repetition of notes is fine. You know, that might be how you come up with your most musical phrases. So it's something for you to try out anyway. You know, I'll leave the backing track running at the end, but great way to get into changes. So, you know, you can do this with any set of chord types. So you could do it with dominant 7th chords, you could do it with major 7th chords, minor 7 flat 5 chords if you like. But the interval between each chord is a minor third or a tone and a half. Try it in different keys. You know, try going between a familiar key or a more familiar key and a less familiar key. So there you go. See how you get on with that, and I'll see you on the next video.